Also, lots to follow with some breaking news late today. This apparent plot to try to spring Luigi Mangione out of jail, with somebody now arrested for pretending to be an FBI agent to try and get him out. This is the big, look at this, that barbecue fork up top, this round blade, maybe a pizza cutter that officials say they found in the backpack of a Minnesota man who apparently, according to this criminal complaint, showed up and said he had paperwork signed by a judge ordering the release of Mangione, who's accused of killing the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson last December. Mangione, of course, has pleaded not guilty. A judge has yet to decide if the death penalty is on the table. We've got team coverage on this tonight. Let me bring in Stephen Romo. Misty Marris is our legal analyst who's here to break this down. Stephen, okay. Mangione is like probably one of the most high-profile inmates in the country. Like, it's like Nicolas Maduro, you know, Luigi Mangione. Like, there's a handful of people that are this high-profile. So this guy, I guess, just apparently, allegedly walks up, says, I got some paperwork. The officials at the jail are like, okay, well, let me see any credentials. And he throws some papers at them and gives them his ID. Like, clearly there was some skepticism that Luigi Mangione was going to get sprung from jail, like, on a dime, you know, potentially months before his trial.
Yeah, not exactly an Ocean's 11 style heist here, Hallie, from reading this criminal complaint. It sounds like he really thought that this could work out. He had a bunch of documents with him. As you mentioned, he kind of tossed them at the officers when they asked for a federal ID when he said he was with the FBI. It's unclear why a judge would sign a letter for his release anyway for a movement like that. That's not really how that would generally work. But hearing the way that this unfolded, it actually could have gone much worse, seeing the images from that criminal complaint as well, the barbecue fork and that circular blade. It calls it a circular blade in the criminal complaint. But as you mentioned, it really looks like a pizza cutter. And we know from a law enforcement source, this suspect, Mark Anderson, in his mid-30s from Minnesota, that law enforcement source is saying that he moved to New York for a job that fell through and instead took a job at a pizzeria and showed up there thinking that this could actually work out. But officers ended up detaining him and searching him when they found those items in his backpack, according to that release. And Hallie, I got to tell you, I've covered the Mangione story since Brian Thompson was gunned down in Midtown back in December of 2024. And seeing this unfold, if there was any inmate that this was going to happen to, it would make sense that it's Mangione. He went from unknown to being an almost celebrity-like figure, covering his arraignment, seeing everyone show up in these Luigi Mangione hats. He's really struck a nerve with a certain segment of the population, including those who've had lots of trouble with the healthcare system. But still, a very bizarre event that allegedly took place today, Hallie.
Stephen, stand by for a second, because we're looking here at, and Stephen, to your point here, there's been stuff that, like, people have sent. We've seen, you know, Mangione-themed merch, these heart-shaped notes that apparently were trying to be sent to him or were sent to him, supporters outside court, a legal defense fund. I think it speaks, Stephen, to the point that you're making, that despite the horrific nature of the crime he's accused of, in some corners he has become this kind of cult figure.
Yeah, he certainly has. And just in covering this from the day one when it happened to when his name was finally released, even tweeting just headlines from NBC News about this, getting so many messages, replies and direct messages from people saying that he should go free, or is there a way that he could legally go free for this? I have covered lots of murders, lots of murder trials, and I have never seen a response like this at all, Hallie. So it would make sense seeing all that stuff, the Legal Defense Fund included. So many people seem personally invested in this. So if this was going to happen to an inmate, I guess my money would have been on Mangione.
Stephen Romo, thank you. Misty, let me come to you here, because, you know, you look at this, you look at what Stephen has described, and you have to wonder, like, what does this mean for jury selection, for example? We know that the federal trial, I think, has a start date for September. There's a question mark around the state trial.
Yeah, absolutely. For jury selection, there's going to be a challenge, and what both sides are going to want to look out for is the covert juror. This is somebody who says whatever it takes to get on the jury so that they can sway the result one way or the other, not because of the evidence, not because of what they see in the courtroom, because of their own personal opinions on the case. So it's going to be a lot of guardrails that are put up in jury selection here, but it's a real risk when you have a case like this, especially with the fandom we're seeing behind Luigi Mangione.
The other piece of it is, like, the timeline of these trials. Does it matter which one goes first? Because prosecutors have now said, okay, we want state to go before federal. The defense is like, no, you know, it sounds like they're pushing back on that. We don't know for sure. But if you're the defense attorney for Luigi Mangione, or if you're the prosecutors on either of these cases, is there an advantage or disadvantage to either?
So the defense wants the federal trial to go first because it's the more serious. It carries the death penalty. The prosecutors in the state case, however, have said we need our trial to go first in July, in fact, when they're looking to have this case go into the courtroom, because they will be severely prejudiced. Now, Hallie, one of the risks is that under the New York state law, double jeopardy, that's being charged with the same crime twice, is much broader than under the federal law. So prosecutors do not want to risk the defense successfully arguing that and lose their opportunity to prosecute. Now, there's law on the other side that you can have two prosecutions. It's called dual sovereignty, one the federal, one the state, but there could be a risk, and prosecutors do not want to take it. They want to bring Luigi Mangione to court and to try him on the state level charges.
Misty Marris, plenty to watch on that front. Stephen Romo, thank you as well. Appreciate you both being on with this breaking news for us late tonight.